I'm going to record what we're doing right now, so if you didn't have your calculator with you, you can reference this video later, or if your calculator gets reset and you're like, oh no, I lost my program, you can access it later and re-put it in there. Okay? So the idea right now is we're going to write program the calculator to solve the quadratic formula. What we want the calculator to do is to, if we put in the values for A, B, and C, have it spit out the answers to, or the solutions to that quadratic equation. Okay? So we're going to start by pressing the program button. And we're going to scroll over to the new tab. So I'm just going to use the left and right arrows to do that. And then select create new, and we're going to give this a name. I'm going to call mine quad. You can call yours whatever you want. I mean, if you want to call it Harriet the Spy or something, I don't know if you can put that many letters in there, but you can call it whatever you'd like. This is going to solve, it's going to do the quadratic equation for us on the calculator. Yes? You do. It is in that same location there under the stat button. Okay. So once you've chosen a name for your program, go ahead and press enter. And now we're going to go ahead and do some coding. I know you never thought you could code anything. You can. I promise. It's not too hard. So most of the commands that we're going to use are going to just be chosen out of menus. So the first thing we want this program to do is clear off everything that's on the screen so that we can have a fresh screen to work with when it outputs us answers. So you press the enter after you pick the name. So now I'm going to press the program button, and I am going to look for the clear home command. And I forget which menu it's in, if it's in the CTL or if it's in the, no, it's got to be in the IO menu. Sorry. So I'll scroll over to the IO menu, and I'm going to choose the clear home command. So now my calculator screen looks like this. I'm going to press enter to move to the next line. And the next thing I want the calculator to do is ask me what the values of A, B, and C are. So I'm going to press that program button again and move over to the IO command, or tab, and I'm going to select the prompt command. And then I'm going to type in the letter A. So when I run this program, the calculator is going to say A equals question mark and ask me to give it a value for A. Everybody's okay with that idea? I'm going to repeat the same process 2 more times to make the calculator ask me for my values of B and C also. Yes, Ryan. So to type a letter, you press alpha and then the button. So the green alpha button is going to allow you to access the green letters. So to type in A, you have to press alpha first and then the math button. Here, let's do this. I'll put that up there so you can see what buttons I pushed if you're looking down while I press things. So this is just a history of all the buttons I've pressed while this has been running. Does that help? The next thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to type in the quadratic formula. Notice in the quadratic formula, though, it has a plus or minus in it. So to do the quadratic formula, I'm going to actually have to type it in twice. I'm going to have to do it with a plus where the plus or minus is, and then again with a minus where the plus or minus is, because my calculator doesn't have a plus or minus button to it. So I'm going to start with a parenthesis, and then negative B, and I'll do the plus first, square root, oops, pressed the alpha button, not the second button, square root b squared minus 4 times a times c, close the parenthesis for my square root, close the parenthesis for the numerator, divided by parenthesis 2 times a, parenthesis. So this is just me typing in the quadratic formula, except where the plus or minus is, I put only a plus. Blake? You can. If you need tips, you know where to go. Yeah, feel free to move up to the, that'll work. So once we've typed in the quadratic formula, we need to have the calculator remember what that answer is that it just computed. So we need to take whatever that value is and store it somewhere so that we can pull it up later and look at it. So the command that or the button I'm going to press next is the STO button that's right down here above the on button. And it puts the little arrow in there. And I'm going to store this answer into a letter. I'm going to store it into the letter D because I haven't used the letter D yet. I've used A, B, and C, but I haven't used D yet. Everybody's okay there? Now I'm going to press enter.
Wait, what do you mean it's stored that?
So it's going to record the value of whatever that comes out to be into that D spot so that we can pull it up later to look at it. So the D is just a location where it's going to write the answer down so that we can go look at that answer later.
It doesn't matter what letter we pick.
It does not, as long, well, you can't pick A, B, or C because you've already used those, but it doesn't matter. There's nothing special about the letter D. So remember, there's two versions of the quadratic formula. There's one where I have the plus in this spot, and then there's one where I have a minus in that spot. So I'm going to do the other line of it. Oops. Dummy. That's the key subtraction symbol. Ah! That's bad. And I'm going to put this answer in the E spot. So give everybody a minute to kind of type all that nonsense in. But we're almost done. The arrow thing is the STO button above the on. So above the on is the button STO. That's where the little arrow guy comes from. You're welcome. Okay. Now what I want to do is have the calculator output the values that we stored into D and E. Okay, so I'm going to go and press the program button again, and I'm going to go over to the I/O tab, and I'm going to select the output button. And the way the output button works is you need to specify where you want it to output, and then what it is it wants to output. So the location is going to be a location on the screen where it's going to act like it's a grid. So you're going to designate a specific row and a specific column on where it's going to start typing that. So I think that there are, if I recall, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like there's maybe 10 rows. So I'm going to output this on row 8. It's going to start at column 1, and I'm going to output the value for D. Yes. Yes. They are commas inside of the output command. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Output, and I'm going to do 9, 1, and then E. Everybody's okay there? The comma is above the number 7. Matt? Okay. Bianca, quit making so many mistakes. Roger's not going to be following you around all your life to clean up after you here. Come on. Oh, you messed up his calculator. That's even better. Okay. We're almost done. The last thing we need the program to do now is it's going to ask us for the values for A, B, and C. It's then going to compute the quadratic formula and store my two answers in D and E, and then display those two answers that we have stored in D and E. The last thing the program needs to do then is to stop. Okay, we don't want it to keep going forever. So I'm going to go back to program and over to I/O, and I think it's down at the very bottom here. Nope, it must be in the CTL command. I'm sorry, it's at the bottom of that then. There it is. Oh, you want stop, not end, though. End is for a loop, if you're doing a loop, which is way beyond the scope of this class, but if you're interested in computer programming, you can have while loops or for loops. The computer will keep doing something while a certain value is this, or until a certain value is this. Or whenever it gets this value, it'll do that kind of thing. So there's different kinds of loops. Okay. Matt, what's up? Oh, good. Okay. We're all done with our program. I think this will work. So I'm going to exit out of here by pressing second in mode. And now I'm going to call up my newly written program and hit enter. So I pressed program. And then I selected the quad and pressed enter. And it says quad on my screen. And then I just press enter again. So now you should have a flashing A. So let's go ahead and do this problem that we just got finished with here on the notes. So let's do this one here. 7x squared minus 55. So my A value is 7. My B value is 0. And my C value was negative 55. 0. And boom, out spat my answer. And you might say, Mr. Kulik, you said the answer was plus or minus the square root of 385 over 7. Well, let's just do that to just demonstrate that we did indeed get the same thing. 385 divided by 7 is exactly the positive version of that answer that we just got. So this does indeed work. Yay! One thing I would suggest doing, though, before you finish, is press the mode button on your calculator. And down here at this third option, right now your calculator is set up to only handle real numbers. I'm going to move my calculator over and press enter on the A plus BI option. And now my calculator can handle complex numbers. So if I get an I in my answer, the calculator will spit out an answer with an I in it. Woo! I will post an assignment for this this section tonight, so be on the lookout for that.
For tomorrow?
For tomorrow.